A young man stretches, enjoying the fine weather. A cheerful girl with fox-like ears calls out to him, excitedly telling him to look at something. The girl, divine beast Lena, proudly displays a massive bull she caught for their meal. The man welcomes her back, praising her good work. Just then another divine beast, Elga, arrives late with a giant bear, declaring they will have a feast. The man praises Elga as well. A dragon descends from the sky, calling out to its milord. It lands with a heavy thud, announcing that it also caught a lot. It explains it found a flock of birds and hunted them all. The ancient dragon, Tiltu, proudly asks if she isn't awesome for her catch. A great mage named Lena gently points out they can't possibly use all the food they've gathered. Still, she thanks them and promises to make a special meal. Everyone cheers in excitement. He reflects on his companions, divine beasts, ancient dragons, and great mages. This is an island where only the strongest live. And yet here he is among them. Having been reincarnated on this island, he is now enjoying a laid-back, slow life. The story flashes back to 1 month ago. A divine voice informed Arata to do that he had died. Arata, a 30-year-old corporate slave, was understandably confused. God explained that his death was a mistake on his part. As an apology, he would be reincarnated into another world with any wish granted. His wish was simple, to live a slow and peaceful life on an island where no one lives. He reflects on the absurdity of dying from overwork, only for it to be God's mistake. He had also asked for a strong body that doesn't get sick or hurt, and God threw in the ability to copy skills and magic. He found it odd to receive such a powerful ability for a deserted island, but God insisted it would be more epic. Arata is glad he won't have to worry about getting sick or injured. However, the reality of his situation sinks in. He has almost no survival knowledge. He realizes that the hurdle for living alone on an island is quite high and that he should have thought things through better. He decides complaining now won't get him anywhere. Arata rallies his spirits, declaring that he will do this and enjoy his new life on the island to the fullest. With renewed determination, he heads into the forest. He is amazed by his new body's capabilities, noting how he can move quickly on rough trails without getting tired. The place truly seems like an uninhabited island. He needs to investigate what kind of island this is. But before that, he must secure food and water. The thought of having to hunt on his own fills him with doubt. A sudden rustle in the bushes startles him. A rabbit emerges from the bushes. Arata is surprised but relieved to see a familiar creature. He considers if he could roast it for a meal. The rabbit's incredibly cute, sparkling eyes give him pause. He pleads with it not to look at him like that. He apologizes to the small creature. He tells himself this is for his survival and prepares to strike. As he reaches for the rabbit, an unseen force throws him backward. He stands up, completely baffled. The rabbit, unharmed, looks just as confused as he is. Arata wonders if the creature somehow knew he was about to attack. He reaffirms his need for food and prepares to lunge again. He dashes towards the rabbit, determined to catch it. The rabbit dodges his attack with surprising speed. Arata stares in shock. It charges headfirst into a nearby tree, knocking itself unconscious. Stunned, Arata wonders if the rabbit self-destructed. He notes that while he's never seen a rabbit move like that, this is another world, so perhaps it's not so strange. Seeing it's only unconscious, he decides to grab it. But a sudden feeling of dread makes him shudder. A large white wolf appears from the woods. Arata is terrified. He knows that if he tries to run, the wolf will immediately give chase, leaving him trapped. He realizes the wolf is staring at the unconscious rabbit, not him. Thinking fast, he grabs the rabbit. He hurls it as far as he can. As the wolf chases after the rabbit, Arata seizes the chance to escape. He runs as fast as he can. He ducks behind a tree to catch his breath and peek at the situation. Seeing that the wolf didn't chase after him, he lets out a huge sigh of relief. His heart pounds in his chest. He was scared and truly thought he was going to die. The dangerous encounter serves as a harsh lesson on what it means to live alone. As evening approaches, he knows he must be cautious. Realizing there could be other dangerous creatures, he decides to head back to the shore for the day. He plans to search for drinking water when it's light out tomorrow. He finds a rocky alcove on the shore where he feels safe. Despite running at full speed, he doesn't feel tired, which he attributes to his new strong body. He doesn't regret his wish for solitude. but he still wonders if he can truly survive on his own. As his eyes adjust to the darkness, he is left speechless by the breathtakingly beautiful starry sky above him. Gazing at the magnificent view, his doubts begin to fade. With newfound confidence, he's sure he'll be fine. He feels that if he can see this every day, he can do his best. He clenches his fist, determined. Filled with inspiration, he shouts to the sky, vowing that he will do it and live on his own. He's not going to think his life is boring anymore. He will lead a fun life on this island. Arata wakes up, worried for a moment that the starry sky was just a dream. He is relieved to find that it was all real. He had expected to be sore after sleeping on rocks. But thanks to his new body, he feels scarily good. He decides to take a walk along the shore. He hopes to find something to eat. He also looks for plants that could provide moisture. As he walks, he spots something unusual in the distance. Washed up on the sand is a person. Arata is shocked to see another human on what he believed to be an uninhabited island. He rushes over, wondering if she's stranded. He realizes now isn't the time for questions. He checks her breathing and finds she isn't. Panicked at the thought she might die, he knows he has to act, even if he's only ever seen CPR in videos. He questions if he can do it. Stealing his resolve, he decides there's no reason to hold back. He apologizes to the unconscious woman, telling her she can complain later, and begins mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. He gives her a rescue breath. He then begins applying chest compressions. He continues the compressions with desperate focus. His efforts pay off as the woman gasps and coughs up water. He checks again and finds that she's breathing, though it's faint. Overwhelmed with relief, Arata collapses onto the sand. He observes that she's starting to look better. Now that the immediate danger has passed, he takes a closer look and realizes she's very pretty. Still, he can't shake the question of why another person is on an island that should be completely deserted. Realizing it would be bad to leave her in her drenched clothes, Arata knows he has to act. He tells himself to let go of any worldly desires, reminding himself this is a life-saving measure. He begins to unfasten her armor. After removing her outer garments, she is left in her underwear. He notes that her underwear is red, just like her hair. He's momentarily flustered and slaps himself, chastising his own thoughts. He forces himself to banish his worldly desires. After a difficult struggle, he lets out a sigh of relief. He managed to get her redressed in his dry shirt. He then remembers he also needs to dry her clothes. As he looks at her clothes, he reflects on how much it feels like he's in a fantasy world. His thoughts are interrupted when the woman begins to stir and make a sound. The woman awakens. She asks who he is, and he expresses his relief that she's awake. He introduces himself as Arata to do. He explains he took care of her because she seemed to be stranded. She repeats his name, and he asks if she's okay to get up. She sits up, noticing her different attire. Arata nervously apologizes, explaining her clothes were wet. The realization makes her blush deeply. She shyly addresses him by name. With a bright, sincere smile, she thanks him for saving her. Arata is momentarily stunned by her expression. He composes himself and replies that he's just glad she's okay. Now that she's dressed in her own clothes again, she stands up. Arata asks for her name. She apologizes for the delayed introduction. She introduces herself as Lena Mistral. Arata asks how she ended up passed out at sea, and she explains she was on her way to the faraway island on the king's orders. Her ship was caught in a violent storm and sank, and she thought she was done for until Arata saved her. Lena asks if Arata lives on the island. He struggles with how to respond. He can't bring himself to explain that he met God and was reincarnated. He simply says he just found himself there, much to her confusion. Lena accepts his vague answer, deciding that everyone has their own circumstances. Lena tells him that the circumstances don't matter, what's important is that he saved her. Arata thanks her, and she replies with a laugh that she should be the one saying that. Arata suggests they look for food and water after she's had a bit more rest, and Lena agrees. The two set off to explore the island together. As they walk, Lena quickly becomes exhausted, and Arata suggests they take a break. She stares at him, amazed by his stamina. She asks why he's surprised by his own abilities, and he just laughs. Lena then comments that she finds the island a bit weird. Lena explains that judging from where she was stranded, they shouldn't be far from where her ship sank. An island this large should be known to the kingdom. As she speaks, Arata spots something in the distance. He realizes with a shock that it's a pack of wolves. Arata recognizes them as the same wolves from yesterday and realizes the situation is bad. He panics, telling Lena to run away, as he believes the wolves are dead set on eating them. However, Lena remains calm, a grin on her face as she asks why he's panicking. She calmly states that it's just a beast they're up against. Lena proudly declares that, as one of the 7 heavenly great mages, she would never run away. She unleashes a powerful torrent of magic. Her magic instantly decimates most of the wolf pack. Arata is stunned, realizing she used magic. Lena confidently states that should do it. But Arata spots a lone survivor charging towards them and shouts a warning. Arata instinctively pushes Lena out of the way, and the wolf chomps down on his arm. Lena cries out his name in alarm. Arata is surprised that the bite only stings a little. Lena asks in disbelief if it doesn't hurt. He reassures her that he's totally fine. He guesses the wolf might be worn out from her earlier magic. Though he doubts an amateur's punch would be effective, he prepares to strike. He strikes the wolf, sending it flying and knocking it out instantly. Lena is left speechless. Arata is equally shocked by his own power. The wolf lies defeated. Arata reflects on the strange incidents with the rabbit and the wolves, beginning to suspect something about himself. Lena, completely bewildered, asks him just what he is. Lena suddenly becomes tense and warns Arata to run as fast as he can in the direction they came from when she gives the sign. A loud cracking sound echoes from the trees behind them. A colossal wolf, the boss of the pack, emerges from the forest with a terrifying aura. Even as a combat amateur, Arata can tell this creature is in a completely different league. Lena screams at him to run. Lena unleashes another powerful blast of magic. Arata is surprised, thinking it's much stronger than her previous spell. However, the attack hits the giant wolf head-on but has no effect. Lena is shocked that her magic isn't working. Unfazed by the magical assault, the giant wolf lunges towards Lena. She is frozen in terror. Just in time, Arata pushes Lena out of the way, taking the brunt of the wolf's attack himself. He quickly checks if she's hurt. She tells him she's not, but urges him to get away. Lena angrily asks why he didn't run when she gave the sign. Arata retorts that the wolf would have caught him anyway. Lena yells that she knew that, and she was going to hold it back so he could escape. Arata realizes she was willing to sacrifice herself for him. He is moved by her boundless good nature. Moved by her selflessness, Arata decides he can't let someone so kind be killed. He steps in front of her and defiantly tells the wolf that it's up against him now. The wolf growls in response. He can feel the wolf's intent to kill. But he is determined to survive. He was given a new life by God, and he refuses to die here. Even if he can't win, he will create a chance for Lena to escape. With a defiant roar against the unfairness of it all, Arata throws a powerful punch, sending the massive wolf flying through the air. The wolf disappears with a faint twinkle in the sky. Arata stares in utter disbelief. He is completely baffled by what he just did. The realization dawns on him. When God granted him a strong body, he wasn't exaggerating. Lena can only gape at him, speechless. Arata sighs, looking up at the sky. Standing beside a still-shocked Lena, Arata thinks to himself that things really should have what people call limits. A young man recounts how he ended up living a second life in another world after dying due to God's mistake. As an apology, God offered to grant him any wish. He asked for a strong body that doesn't get sick or hurt, and as a bonus, God gave him the ability to copy skills and magic just by seeing them. This is how he began his free, slow life on an island he believed was uninhabited. Arata reflects that the performance of his new strong body is far too overpowered. Lena calls out his name, snapping him out of his thoughts. She tells him she's never seen a human send a monster flying so far with a single punch. Roaring with excitement, she eagerly asks how he managed such a feat. Flustered, Arata stammers that it was magic or something similar. Lena's smile twitches with disbelief. She tells Arata that even if she enhanced her body with all her magic power, that wouldn't happen. She concludes that this must mean he's a more skilled magician than her, one of the 7 heavenly great mages, causing Arata to panic. Lena's expression grows more intense as she questions if he's lying to her, causing Arata to blurt out that he's never seen magic before. Arata wonders what he should do in this situation. He debates telling her the truth about being reincarnated, but doubts she would believe it. After his confession, Lena quietly apologizes to him, leaving Arata confused. Lena clarifies that she wasn't trying to accuse him, she was just shocked. She feels guilty for doubting her lifesaver after he protected her from the wolf boss. Seeing her dejected, Arata feels a sense of gloom. He realizes it's only natural for Lena to be suspicious of him after what she witnessed. He feels bad for troubling a younger girl like this. As an adult, he resolves to do something about the situation. Arata tries to cheer Lena up, telling her not to give him that look. He assures her he's not mad at her. Lena pouts, asking if he's treating her like a kid, which he quickly denies. Relieved that he's managed to distract her, Arata dismisses her concern. He seizes the opportunity to change the subject, asking just how amazing the 7 heavenly mages are. Lena snaps in disbelief, and Arata realizes he's stepped on another landmine. She questions how he could not know about the mages, and he awkwardly claims his memory is fuzzy. Sighing at his apparent selective memory, Lena agrees to tell him. Lena explains that the 7 heavenly mages is a title given to the strongest magicians on the continent who are admired for their strength to fight dragons alone. She proudly adds that she was the youngest person in history to be chosen, and Arata applauds, genuinely impressed. Lena says that even an amazing magician like herself couldn't achieve what Arata did with a fully enhanced body. This is precisely why she's so curious about his abnormality, which makes Arata nervous. He thinks to himself that if he went back to the continent, he'd probably be dissected. Lena states they need to find water and a place to rest quickly. Arata agrees with her. His enhanced senses suddenly pick something up. He suggests they try going in a specific direction. Lena questions his choice, but Arata confirms. Arata explains that he thinks he can hear the sound of flowing water. They follow the path he indicated. Soon enough, they both stop in surprise at what they find. They've arrived at a river. Lena is amazed that Arata could hear the river from so far away. Arata feigns surprise as well. Lena brings up the more pressing issue of whether the water is safe to drink. He reasons his strong body could handle any bacteria, but Lena's might not. He scoops up some water and drinks it to test its safety. The cool water hits the spot for his thirsty body. He then tells Lena that it seems okay for her to drink. Arata is stunned by Lena's sudden culinary setup. She expertly chops vegetables for their meal. She adds the ingredients to a pot over a fire. Arata sneaks up behind her, about to ask a question. Lena is so focused on her cooking that she doesn't notice Arata until he speaks. He's impressed by her intense concentration. He notes she looks like a pro with a knife. He asks where she got all the cooking utensils from. She explains that she had them stored using storage magic. Arata is unfamiliar with the concept of storage magic. Lena realizes he doesn't understand at all. She explains that it's like a warehouse that allows a user to store and retrieve items anywhere. The capacity depends on the user's total magical power. She proudly demonstrates, revealing that she can store things as big as a house. Lena tells Arata to relax until the food is ready. He thinks about how nice storage magic must be and wishes he could try it too. Suddenly, he witnesses the same magical distortion appear before him. He wonders if he somehow caused it. To his astonishment, Arata realizes he has just used storage magic. He wonders if this could be the other ability he got from God. It dawns on him that it's the power to copy someone else's skills and magic just by seeing them. His concentration is broken when Lena calls out, reminding him that she told him to rest. Startled by Lena, the magic portal vanishes. He looks at his empty hands, realizing it's gone. When Lena asks what's the matter, he quickly dismisses it as nothing. He thinks to himself that he covered it up because he felt she would get mad if she saw. Changing the subject, he asks her to hold the pot while he makes a table. Lena watches in amazement as Arata uses earth magic. The ground rumbles as the furniture takes shape. A complete table and chairs form from the ground, impressing them both. She then uses her storage magic to pull out plates and cutlery. With the table set, Lena proudly presents the finished meal. Arata claps his hands in awe, telling her she's awesome. Smiling, she explains that as a certified S-rank adventurer, she's quite used to having meals outdoors. She serves the steaming soup. A warm bowl of tomato soup is placed before Arata. His eyes sparkle with delight. His stomach betrays his excitement with a loud growl. Embarrassed, he apologizes and Lena just laughs, teasing that he's like a kid. She suggests they start eating. A girl with fox ears and multiple tails suddenly appears at their table, happily agreeing to join them. The sudden appearance leaves both Arata and Lena speechless. Arata is completely baffled, wondering who this girl is. He notices her fluffy ears as she tears off a piece of bread. He also sees her 9 tails as she dips the bread into the soup. He can't help but wonder who she could possibly be as she happily eats. The beast girl happily exclaims that the food is delicious. She thanks Lena, calling her big sis. Arata, still confused about where she came from, watches her eat. He wonders what he should do and turns to Lena for guidance. Arata is surprised to see Lena trembling in her seat. He rushes to her side and asks what's wrong. Through chattering teeth, she insists that she's okay. Arata points out that she clearly doesn't look fine. Arata notices Lena is staring at the beast girl, wondering what's wrong with her. The girl is eating so quickly that she's about to finish both of their portions. Arata tries to intervene, telling her she can't just eat other people's food. Lena suddenly jumps up, insisting it's fine. She says they should let her eat as much as she wants, but Arata disagrees. Arata tells Lena that since the girl is still a kid, they have a responsibility to teach her properly. Lena panics, telling him to forget it and let her go, but Arata doesn't understand her panic. He sets the girl down and calmly asks for her name. The girl brightly introduces herself as Luna. Arata acknowledges her name. He explains that they were about to have a meal. He points out that the soup she ate was his, and it's now all gone. Upon hearing this, Luna looks genuinely surprised. Luna looks downcast and sincerely apologizes. Seeing her honest apology, Arata pats her on the head, praising her. Luna looks up at him, her gloom replaced by a blushing smile. Arata turns to Lena and asks if they still have enough food. Lena confirms they do, explaining she had prepared for a half-year expedition. Relieved, Arata apologizes for the trouble. He then asks if she would be willing to prepare a portion for Luna as well. Luna looks on worriedly. Lena looks at Arata with a gentle expression. She smiles and agrees to make more food. Luna timidly asks Arata if it's really okay, and he confirms it is. Luna's face lights up with a brilliant smile. Luna enthusiastically thanks Lena. Lena smiles warmly and says she is welcome. She tells Luna to wait while she remakes the meal. Arata also thanks Lena. He feels a pang of guilt, thinking he can't keep relying on her for everything and will become a moocher. Luna overhears Arata's muttering and innocently asks if his name is Moocher. He corrects her, telling her his name is Arata. He reflects on how God told him this island was set up for him to be self-sufficient. He resolves to learn how to get by on his own to reduce Lena's burden soon. Meanwhile, Luna eagerly awaits more of Lena's cooking. Arata ponders that the island is supposed to be without humans, but wonders if there are other human-like beasts like Luna. He asks Luna if she lives on the island. He then asks if there are others living there. Luna cheerfully confirms that lots of species live there, including divine beasts like herself, demons, ancient dragons, and vampires. Arata is taken aback by this revelation. Arata realizes that while it's true there are no humans on the island, it is far from uninhabited. Later, the three of them sit down to a meal together. After they finish, Luna gets up to leave, waving goodbye as Arata and Lena see her off. The sun sets over the island. Arata and Lena stand before a large tent that Lena has set up, and he comments that it turned out well. Lena agrees, suggesting they make it their base for now. Now that Luna has left, she proposes they go inside and discuss what to do next. Lena explains that as one of the 7 heavenly mages, she was heading towards the faraway island. Their goal was to obtain an elixir of immortality said to rest there. Arata asks who Aur refers to, and she confirms it was a group. She clarifies that knights also came with her, but it seems she was the only one who survived. Arata listens with concern. Arata realizes that if what Luna said is true, this must be the faraway island. He recalls the intense names of the species she mentioned. He asks Lena if Luna is just an average kid, which she confirms. However, she adds that there's something Arata might not know since he's not a magician. Lena reveals that Luna has several times more magical power than she does. Arata realizes this is why Lena was so terrified earlier. Lena clarifies that Luna is a monster, one that could cause a historic catastrophe if she ever appeared in the kingdom. Arata notes that she didn't seem like that, and Lena agrees, unable to imagine her doing something so terrible. Lena emphasizes just how powerful Luna is. Curious, Arata asks what exactly divine beasts and demons are. Lena explains they are figures from mythology, not history books. They are creatures from folklore that existed even before people were on the continent. Lena explains that ancient dragons are from stories where they appeared on the continent and destroyed nations. She adds that vampires are considered imaginary creatures. At least that's what she would like to say. The reality is that they have actually met one of them, which is why she was panicking earlier. Arata concludes that one thing is for sure, this is no ordinary island. Lena agrees, adding that they don't know if anyone else they meet will be as friendly as Luna. Arata decides that until they can better grasp the situation, it would be best for them to avoid contact with others. Lena suggests they escape the island carefully, reminding him they are just humans. Arata stops her, asking if she doesn't need the elixir. She dismisses it, saying her team has been wiped out. She believes a proper investigation team is needed to assess the island. Arata internally panics, as he's set on living on this island and doesn't want more people coming. He tells her that in any case she'll need a boat to leave and they'll have to figure that out. Lena brightly announces that she has some work for him. Arata meekly agrees, feeling like he won't be able to go against her for the rest of his life. He knows that to lay the groundwork for living on the island, Lena's cooperation is indispensable. With his strong body, he won't die. And with his copy ability, he can learn various types of magic from her instantly. Arata reflects that while he plans to keep living on this island, Lena does not. He quietly agrees to her plan. He resolves to go along with her and help her until she can leave the island. He is determined to be of assistance, even if it's only in a small way. The next day arrives. Arata wakes up with a throbbing headache. He wonders how he could have possibly slept. He was too aware that he was spending the night in the same tent as a girl. Lena, already up, wishes him a good morning, and he tiredly returns the greeting. Lena notices the awful bags under his eyes and asks if he's okay, but he insists he's fine. He tells her he's going to wash his face at the river. He steps outside the tent. He takes a deep breath and notes that it's another day of nice weather. Arata reflects on how much happened yesterday and hopes for a peaceful day. His hopes are dashed when Luna comes dashing towards him, cheerfully wishing him a good morning. He greets her back. His expression is weary. A tall, imposing elf-like man suddenly appears. He asks who they are. The man then directs a question to Arata, calling out to him, and Arata nervously responds. The man glares intently at Arata, demanding to know if he is the intruder on this island. Arata's hope for a peaceful day is completely shattered. Arata finds himself confronted by two beast people, a young fox-like girl and a tall, imposing man. The man glares at him with an intimidating intensity. He is immediately struck by the tremendous pressure emanating from the man's presence. The man introduces himself as Elga, a divine beast warrior and descendant of Fenrir. Elga asks for Arata's name, which Luna provides. His attention then shifts to the tent, sensing the magical power of the girl inside. Elga glares at Arata, warning him to back off unless he's looking for a fight. She confronts Elga, questioning if he truly believes he can challenge her with his current level of magical power. Arata is taken aback by her sudden appearance. Lena emerges from the tent, looking visibly strained. Arata realizes the gravity of the situation, seeing as even a 7 heavenly mage is this affected. Concluding that Elga must be incredibly skilled, Arata decides to act. Arata steps forward to shield Lena. She watches him with a surprised and slightly flushed expression. The tension is broken when Luna suddenly slaps Elga, shouting his name in frustration. Luna scolds Elga, reminding him that she showed him the way because he promised not to fight. Elga defends himself by claiming Arata's group was hostile. Luna retorts it was just his scary face and that they had kindly fed her. Seeing their bickering, Arata concludes there's no real threat. Arata steps in and asks Elga what he wants from them. Elga tells Arata to drop the formalities. He points out that they are the ones who have entered the divine beast's territory. Arata apologizes, explaining their arrival was an accident. He clarifies they were unaware of any territories or rules about intruders. Elga seems to understand, admitting he had suspected as much. Elga reveals they are on the divine island of Arcadia, a place humans cannot intentionally enter. Arata connects this to the faraway island Lena had mentioned. Elga grants them permission to stay, provided they cause no harm. However, he warns them to be careful. Elga warns them that the island is also home to merciless young demons and ancient dragons. Arata asks Elga if he could tell them more about the island. Elga finds the request to be a pain. However, he agrees it's better than them causing trouble out of ignorance. He decides to bring them a map and tells them to wait. Elga dashes off to retrieve the map. Arata watches him go, thinking he's a surprisingly nice person. Lena explains that despite his rough exterior and laziness, Elga is reliable and proactive. Arata readily agrees with her assessment. Suddenly, Lena stumbles, panting heavily. Arata rushes to her side, concerned. She explains that her body is trembling from being hit by an unbelievably concentrated amount of magical power. Arata is unable to sense the magical pressure himself and wonders if it is a sense unique to magicians. He is shocked that a brief encounter could exhaust her so much. Lena worries it's her fault for bringing Elga. Lena reassures her that it is not her fault. She gently pats Lena's head, telling her she is not to blame. Lena blames her own inexperience for her reaction. She tells a worried Lena not to fret. Having recovered, she cheerfully offers to make breakfast. Arata reflects on her strength of character, taking full responsibility despite being a magician of the highest caliber. Arata finds himself respecting Lena despite her age. Just then, Elga returns with the map. He finds Arata and Lena already enjoying the breakfast Lena prepared. Elga erupts in anger, complaining that they were feasting while he was gone for an hour. Lena calmly offers him a plate of food. He accepts her offer. His anger quickly dissipates after a single bite. Both Elga and Lena loudly exclaim how delicious the meal is. Arata watches them eat, wondering if it's a divine beast trait to shout when they eat something good. Afterwards, the two divine beasts lie on the ground, completely stuffed and satisfied. After the meal, Arata washes the dishes by the river. He muses on Elga and Lena's relationship, noting they don't seem blood-related. Still, he thinks they act like close siblings. Lena approaches and thanks him. Arata assumes she's thanking him for washing the dishes. She clarifies that's not what she's thanking him for. Lena clarifies that she's thanking him for stepping in to protect her from Elga earlier. Arata thinks it was unnecessary, as Elga wasn't truly hostile. Lena disagrees with his assessment. She admits she'd never expected someone to have to protect her. She confesses that being protected was a refreshing and happy experience. Her bright smile makes Arata's heart race. Lena suggests they return to the tent. A flustered Arata agrees, suggesting they ask Elga more about the island. Elga spreads out a map of the divine island of Arcadia. He explains they are in the divine beast's territory, which borders the lands of ancient dragons and demons. He mentions that while these groups don't get along, they rarely fight. The high elves on the west side of the island maintain some contact, but mostly keep to themselves. Arata wonders if the island's inhabitants live in harmony, but Elga corrects him. He explains that the long-lived species simply aren't interested in conflict, as they don't need to fight for survival. This reassures Arata, who now believes he can safely live on the island. Arata confidently tells Elga he wants to live on the island and asks for a good location. Elga is incredulous at his request. He states there's no place for a human there. Arata insists his strong body can handle it. Suddenly, a heavy thumping sound echoes through the area. Elga's eyes light up, identifying the sound as an Emperor Boar's footsteps. While Lena is confused, Lena is ecstatic at the prospect of a feast. Arata asks what an Emperor Boar is. Elga enthusiastically explains that they are essentially giant, tasty pieces of meat. Elga explains the boars are a rare delicacy because they are hard to find. Lena provides a more sobering perspective, telling Arata about the dangerous king boars on the continent. She explains they are so dangerous, they require the full might of the chivalry to handle. The ground trembles as the massive Emperor Boar comes into view. A colossal Emperor Boar bursts through the forest. Its size stuns both Arata and Lena, with Arata remarking that it's way too big. Elga observes that the boar looks hungry. He tells Lena to stay put, as she's still a kid. Lena protests, accusing him of wanting the delicious parts for himself. Elga challenges Lena to kill it first if she wants the best cuts of meat. She eagerly accepts, ready for a competition. The two divine beasts charge towards the boar. Arata feels confident in their strength. However, he worries if they can actually stop the boar's massive forward momentum. He realizes that if they fail, he and Lena will be directly in its path. The boar's charge is unstoppable. It becomes even more violent with Elga and Lena clinging to it. Lena warns Arata that she needs time to cast a spell powerful enough to stop it. Arata knows they don't have that long before Lena is in danger. Arata moves to protect Lena. She urges him to run away. He resolves to trust in the power granted to him by God. He declares that to survive on this island, he must be able to face this danger. Lena calls out his name in terror. Arata reassures the terrified Lena that it will be okay. He stands firm, ready to confront the charging beast head-on. With a single word, freeze, Arata halts the colossal boar in its tracks. Lena stares in utter disbelief. Elga is completely shocked by what he just witnessed. Lena is also stunned into silence. The divine beasts praise his amazing feat. Arata asks if killing the boar means the meat is his. He reminds them of the survival of the fittest rule. Arata declares that the boar will be their feast. He unleashes a single powerful punch, sending the giant beast, Elga and Lena flying into the sky. Arata proudly declares the Emperor Boar defeated. The others are just confused by his declaration. They look around the barren landscape, wondering where the Emperor Boar has gone. Arata slowly realizes he might have overdone it. Elga cries out in despair for his lost meat. Lena joins in, wailing for her lost meal. Arata too realizes his mistake and screams in frustration. As they all float down, Lena thinks that the sight she just witnessed defies all common sense. Elga and Lena angrily demand to know what Arata did with the Emperor Boar meat. Arata apologizes profusely for his mistake. Lena steps in to mediate the situation, telling them to calm down. Lena offers to make them lunch to appease them, an offer they quickly accept. For Lena's sake, Lena and Elga agree to forgive Arata. With the conflict resolved, Arata thanks Lena for her help. Lena suggests that if Arata wants to live on the island, he can stay in their current area since it has plenty of resources. Arata questions this, recalling Elga's earlier warnings. Elga points out that no ordinary person could stop a charging Emperor Boar and send it flying with a single punch. Arata quietly insists to himself that he really is human. Elga declares Arata to be odd and amusing, and since Lena seems to like him, he should have no problem living there. Relieved, Arata thanks Elga for his acceptance. He then turns to Lena, asking if she plans on staying as well. She confirms that she is, as she has no way to return home. Lena explains that she will stay with Arata for a while, as she doesn't feel confident living alone on the island. Lena is ecstatic at the news, exclaiming that they can now play together. Lena and Lena share a happy moment. Seeing Lena so happy brings a smile to Arata's face. His peaceful moment is cut short as he senses something approaching. Lena asks Arata what's wrong. Arata's expression turns serious as he points towards a sound in the distance, asking Lena what she thinks it is. The others hear the flapping of large wings as a massive creature descends from the sky. A fearsome black dragon lands before them with a heavy thud. Arata and Lena stare in shock, exclaiming that it's a dragon. Elga identifies the creature as a young ancient dragon, a kid Bahamut. Arata is stunned to see that the dragon is carrying the very Emperor Boar he sent flying. The dragon growls menacingly. It drops the massive beast from the sky. The Emperor Boar plummets towards them. Arata quickly shouts for everyone to get down. He braces himself, ready to act with the special body God gave him. The boar crashes to the ground with a massive impact, but Arata stands firm, catching its immense weight. He checks to see if everyone is okay, and his friends can only stare in awe, with Lena proudly proclaiming that's her big bro. The dragon lets out a deafening roar and charges forward. Arata yells for everyone to stand back. Elga urgently asks Arata if he can stop the charging dragon. Arata confidently replies that he probably can. Elga tells him to stop its charge and he will handle the rest. As the dragon lunges, Elga readies himself for a fight. Arata prepares to catch whatever is coming his way. The dragon disappears in a puff of smoke, and a voice calls out to Arata. A small figure emerges from the smoke and collides with Arata, who catches her with a surprised grunt. The dragon girl looks up at Arata with a wide, excited grin, declaring that she expected no less from a veteran who proposed to her. Lena is shocked by the sudden turn of events. Elga is equally stunned by the girl's declaration. The dragon girl happily hugs Arata, calling him my lord and commenting on how nice he feels to hug. Arata, though confused, senses no ill will and realizes she must be the dragon from earlier. He can't help but think that this situation has become quite troublesome. Suddenly Lena collapses, panting heavily, and Lena rushes to her side in concern. Arata calls out Lena's name in alarm. Lena explains that she's just feeling nauseous from the immense magical power. Arata exclaims that she looks worse than a bit nauseous. He realizes the combined power of Elga, and the dragon girl is too strong for Lena. Arata decides they need to get her away immediately. Without hesitation, Arata scoops Lena into his arms. He tells her to save her complaints for later as she protests weakly. Arata declares that for now, they need to get away fast. He dashes away from the group, carrying Lena. After reaching a peaceful spot by a river, Arata gently sets Lena down and asks if she's okay. Lena is still panting, trying to recover. He calmly instructs her to relax and take deep, slow breaths. Lena struggles to catch her breath. Arata gently holds Lena, supporting her as she recovers. As Lena's breathing evens out, she falls asleep in his arms. Arata reflects that she must be worn out after everything that happened. His thoughts are interrupted by a rustling sound in the nearby bushes. Lena emerges from the bushes, looking worried and asking if Lena is all right. Arata tells her to approach slowly and quietly. Lena carefully sneaks over to them. Lena quietly asks if her presence is what's hurting Lena. He gently pats her head, telling her not to worry. Arata reassures her, explaining that Lena enjoys her company and would be sad to hear her say such a thing. Arata suggests that if Lena is still worried, she should try holding back her magical power when she's near Lena. He is sure that Lena will be okay if she does. Lena eagerly agrees, promising to do her best for Lena. Arata then asks Lena to watch over Lena for a bit while he takes care of something. Arata tells Lena he's going back to find out why the dragon came. He returns to find Elga struggling to hold back the dragon girl, who is demanding to be let go. The dragon girl is overjoyed to see Arata has returned. Arata reports that Lena has calmed down for now. He then asks the dragon girl for her name. She proudly introduces herself as Tiltu, a descendant of the divine dragon Bahamut and the greatest ancient dragon on the island. Arata internally compares her to the Bahamut from manga and video games. Arata introduces himself, explaining he just started living on the island. Tiltu compliments his name, calling it wonderful and strong-sounding. Arata then asks her why she keeps calling him my lord. She finds his question to be strange and obvious. Tiltu happily explains that it's because he passionately proposed to her and she accepted. Arata is completely baffled by this. He states that he has no memory of ever proposing to her. Tiltu insists that he did by sending her an emperor boar. Tiltu explains that for ancient dragons, filling a strong monster with even stronger magical power and sending it to a female is a form of marriage proposal. She was so impressed by the magical power he imbued in the boar that she had no choice but to accept. Arata tries to stop her, saying he doesn't understand. He asks her to first clarify what she means by him sending an emperor boar. Tiltu recounts that she was napping on her bed when the emperor boar suddenly fell through her ceiling. She traced the magic within it and found Arata. She explains that because his power was so immense, she became head over heels for him. Arata then asks why she dropped the boar on them. She enthusiastically states that dropping the boar was her acceptance of his proposal and suggests they start having meals together as a family. Arata sighs, finally understanding the situation. He realizes that while she has no ill intent, he never meant to propose. He decides he needs to carefully explain the misunderstanding his actions caused. Arata explains that it was a complete coincidence that the emperor boar fell on her bed. Tiltu asks if he's sure he wasn't just hiding his true intentions out of embarrassment. When Arata confirms he wasn't proposing, she is utterly shocked. Dejected, Tiltu mumbles that she got hyped up over her first marriage proposal, only for it to be a misunderstanding. She tearfully concludes that no one would want to marry a loner dragon like her. While Elga calls her a pain, Arata tells him not to say that, feeling sorry for her. Arata realizes that Tiltu is isolated from the other ancient dragons. He feels he did an awful thing to her, even if it was unintentional. Looking at the Emperor Boar, he comes to a decision. He calls out to Tiltu to get her attention. Arata stands before the massive Emperor Boar and invites Tiltu to eat it together with them. She looks up, surprised, questioning if they're really not going to exclude her. Arata reassures her that of course they won't, reaching out his hand to her. Taking her hand, Arata tells her that she will be part of their group, along with himself, Lena, Luna, and Elga. He suggests they all start cooking together. Tiltu is surprised and touched by his offer. Tiltu's face lights up with joy, and she eagerly declares that she's great at roasting things whole. She demonstrates by breathing a small flame, offering to handle the cooking fire. Elga accepts, volunteering to control the heat. The newly expanded group walks off together to prepare their feast. Arata, with Elga and Tiltu in tow, announces their return to the group. Luna excitedly greets Arata, while the others offer their own welcomes. Lena specifically welcomes Elga back, who remains silent. Elga casually responds to the conversation. He apologizes for the incident that caused Lena to collapse earlier. Arata tells him not to worry about it. Lena explains that it was her fault for being inexperienced and that they were simply living their lives. Elga seems to accept her explanation with a small smile. Elga comments to Arata that Lena is strong, but so is he. Lena, now fully recovered, asks Arata who the new girl is. Elga realizes that Lena must not remember Tiltu, transforming from a dragon into her current form. Tiltu proudly introduces herself as a descendant of the divine dragon Bahamut. Arata explains to a confused Lena that Tiltu is the black dragon. She suddenly embraces Arata, boldly declaring that she is his wife. Lena is stunned by the declaration, while Arata worries about how this looks. He asks Lena to let him explain everything from the beginning. Lena sighs, having heard the full story. She asks Arata if he has the protection of Loki, a god known for causing unwanted trouble. Arata awkwardly attempts to address Tiltu. Tiltu cheerfully tells him to just call her Tiltu. Tiltu proposes that she and Lena should be equals, as they are rivals for the same man's affection. Arata is shocked by the ridiculous turn the conversation has taken. Lena tries to reason with Tiltu, explaining she and Arata have only known each other for 2 days. Tiltu insists she likes him romantically. She adds that she has only known her milord for a few hours, implying time doesn't matter. Tiltu questions Lena's denial, arguing it's natural for a female to desire a strong male. Lena insists she and Arata are not lovers, prompting Tiltu to comment on how complicated humans are. Luna chimes in, saying she assumed they were lovers because she saw them embracing. Elga looks on, tired of the chaotic conversation. Elga interrupts, suggesting they return to the Emperor Boar. The others agree to hurry back. The group starts to head off. Arata is left alone for a moment as the others walk ahead. He feels suddenly tired from all the excitement. The group stands before the massive Emperor Boar, with Tiltu perched on top. Lena instructs Elga to cut open the boar's belly so she can remove the guts. Tiltu lifts the giant boar into the air with ease. Lena resolves to show Arata her skills as a proper heavenly great mage. Lena unleashes her wind magic, slicing through the boar. Arata can only say yikes, as the boar is expertly butchered by the spell. Elga compliments her nice cutting. He declares he'll handle the rest and dashes forward. Elga skillfully removes the boar's innards. Arata is amazed by their skill, and Luna proudly explains that Elga is #1 at hunting and dissecting. Elga wipes his face, announcing that the job is done. Lena praises his work and offers him a towel. He explains that once the meat is washed, they can enjoy any part of it. Lena seems to have another thought, though she knows it's late to bring it up. The group stands before a massive pile of fresh meat, realizing it's way more than they can eat. Arata asks if they can do something about it with magic. Lena explains that while her storage magic freezes time and would prevent spoilage, her capacity is full. Arata has a realization upon hearing about storage magic. Arata suggests they put the meat inside his storage magic. Lena is stunned by his suggestion. Arata focuses, visualizing putting the Emperor Boar meat into his storage. He intensely commands the meat to go in. The massive pile of meat vanishes in a flash. The others are amazed by the convenience of storage magic, but Lena is silent. Arata notices her silence and asks what's wrong. Lena turns to him with an intense, shadowed expression. With an intimidating smile, Lena asks Arata how he can use storage magic. She explains that it's not normal to store so much, not even for a heavenly great mage like her. Arata sweats nervously, realizing he didn't mean to reveal his ability. Lena tells him he'll need to explain things to her later, and he can only agree. Countless pieces of meat sizzle on a large grill. The group stares, mouths agape at the sheer amount of food. Lena announces that the food is ready. The group erupts in a cheer. Everyone begins to eat enthusiastically. Elga compliments Arata's skill with chopsticks, who returns the praise. The meat is dipped in Lena's special refreshing sweet sauce. Tiltu and Lena are overcome with joy at how delicious the meat is. Lena reminds the group to eat their vegetables as well. Arata eagerly watches a piece of meat Lena is about to grill. Lena explains that she's grilling the finest fillet, a very rare cut. It's the most tender and rich part of the boar. Arata realizes no one else knows the greatness of this particular cut. He declares that this champion of flavor will be all his. Lena slaps his hand with her tongs, though it doesn't hurt. She smilingly tells Arata to share with everyone, and he apologizes. The whole group enjoys the feast together. After eating their fill, they all relax and wave goodbye to their friends. Night falls and Arata and Lena sit together by the campfire. Lena comments that it was a long day. Arata agrees, adding that today was especially so. Lena tells Arata that he saved her again. Arata clarifies that she means when Tiltu arrived, but says that was his fault. He adds that if she's going to bring that up, he'd have to thank her all the time. He is grateful that she made him a great meal and has prepared a place for him to sleep. Arata says he's glad his body is strong enough to be fine on the island and to be able to protect her. He explains that otherwise he'd just be a burden. Lena seems struck by his words, quietly repeating protect her. Lena chuckles, prompting Arata to ask what's funny. She explains it's been a while since someone said that to her, as people usually treat her like a monster or a weapon. Arata replies that those people aren't looking at her the right way. He adds that's just what it means to be a heavenly great mage. She explains that in terms of rank she's the lowest, but she's still leagues above normal magicians. Because of her immense power, she says, others couldn't possibly have thought of protecting her. Arata listens intently to her words. She concludes that he's the weird one for thinking that way. She explains that the ones they've met on the island are calamities that would threaten the entire human race. To have equal or even more power than them is impossible for a human. She admits that she didn't want to question him at first, but now she must. Lena looks Arata directly in the eyes and asks him the question that has been weighing on her mind. Arata, just what are you? The fire crackles as Arata contemplates his answer. He reflects that Lena is the first person he met in this world, and he already knows she's someone he can trust. He hesitates, considering the implications of telling her the truth. Arata wonders if it would be okay to tell her he's been reincarnated. He worries she might think he's a lunatic. Worse, she might not believe him, think he's lying and stop trusting him. He dismisses his worries, deciding that if he becomes alone again, so be it. He decides he doesn't want to lie to someone as sincere as her. He calls out her name. He begins to speak. Arata confesses to Lena that he is not originally a human from this world. Lena processes his incredible story. She calmly repeats his story back to him for confirmation. Arata reflects that he told her everything, bracing himself for the possibility that she might distance herself from him. Lena's expression is completely unfazed as she simply says, I see. Arata is stunned, asking if she really believes him. He panics, insisting he's not lying but acknowledging how crazy it sounds. Lena chuckles at his frantic reaction. Lena explains that while she normally wouldn't believe stories about gods, Arata's craziness makes his explanation believable. She points out that normal people can't send huge monsters flying. She adds that his lack of knowledge about this world makes it more believable he's from a different one. She tells him that she now understands his abnormality much better. She then adds that this means she can have him work hard from now on, confusing Arata. Lena smiles warmly, saying she hopes they can keep getting along. Arata looks at her, blushing and surprised by her acceptance. Arata admits he was worried that his story would cause Lena to become fed up with him. He thanks her for her understanding. Arata smiles, relieved, and she replies, same here. Arata reflects on the week since his arrival on the island. He feels he has grown quite used to his new life here. What he feared would be a harsh survival experience has become a comfortable camping life, all thanks to Lena. She has even been teaching him magic, which he can use effectively due to his copying ability, though his form still needs work. Arata realizes he has been relying on Lena for nearly everything. He resolves to start troubling her less. Suddenly, a strange squeak catches his attention. He recognizes the cry and heads toward the sound. He finds a small, white rabbit hopping in a clearing. He recognizes it as the same species of rabbit he first encountered on the island. Remembering he used one as a decoy to survive, he feels a bit bad for them and tries to call it over. The rabbit suddenly leaps and body slams into him. Arata is unharmed and comments on how friendly the creature is for jumping at him out of nowhere. Just then, Lena emerges from their tent. Lena and Arata exchange morning greetings. However, upon seeing the rabbit, Lena freezes in terror. Unaware of her distress, Arata asks if she wants to hold the cute rabbit. He tells the flailing creature to behave. He gives the rabbit a light flick on the forehead to discipline it. To his shock, the light flick is enough to make the rabbit faint, and he realizes he needs to learn to hold back. He worriedly asks Lena what he should do. Lena asks if he knows what the creature is, and he confidently identifies it as a rabbit, just like in his world. Lena then asks if he also knows that it's a calamitous monster. Arata is confused by the term. She explains that a calamitous monster is a creature that humans cannot compete with. If one appeared on the continent, multiple heavenly great mages, heroes, or saints would have to risk their lives to face it. Arata realizes that common knowledge between his world and this one is completely different. He now understands why the rabbit looked at him strangely for not taking damage from its body slam. Just as he realizes he can't keep it as a pet, Tiltu shouts out a greeting. She suddenly appears, jumping on him. Lena welcomes Tiltu. Tiltu is amazed that Arata is completely unmoved by her tackle. Arata also welcomes her and asks what brings her here. She cheerfully announces she's here to play with her milord. Arata wonders what kind of games Tiltu would enjoy. Tiltu notices the fainted creature in his arms and asks if it's a rabbit. She is amazed, explaining that rabbits are so nimble and difficult to catch that they are also hard to find if they escape. Tiltu adds that they're also just plain strong. Suddenly, Lena dashes towards them, calling for her big bro. She leaps onto Arata with a happy greeting. Arata welcomes the ever-cheerful Lena. Lena then turns and greets Tiltu as well. Tiltu becomes instantly flustered and shy. Arata notices Tiltu hiding behind him. He asks her what's wrong. Lena welcomes Lena, who happily greets her back. Lena smiles, telling Lena she's proud of her for saying her greetings so well. Seeing this, Tiltu shoves her way forward, demanding praise from Arata too. Unsure what to do, Arata pats her on the head. The gesture makes Tiltu incredibly happy. Arata and Lena smile at the heartwarming scene. Arata decides they should have a hunting contest. He proposes that he teams up with Tiltu, while Lena teams up with Lena, with the winner being the team with the more amazing catch. Lena and Lena are excited to do their best. Tiltu confidently declares that she and her milord will win. Arata announces the start of the hunting contest, and everyone dashes off. After some time, Arata and Tiltu are exhausted, unable to catch a single thing. In the distance, Lena effortlessly catches prey using an air thrust spell, impressing Lena. Arata has to admit that Lena is quite skilled. He muses that her S-rank adventurer status and thorough knowledge of hunting are on full display. Arata complains that he can't even find any game in the first place. Tiltu explains that creatures on the island are sensitive to the presence of the strong and avoid her. Arata realizes this is a huge disadvantage for a hunting contest. Lena notes that this means Luna is under the same conditions, so she is backing her up. Tiltu worries they'll lose at this rate, and Arata agrees they need to do something. They first need to find some game. Arata laments that he has no hunting knowledge like Lena, nor can he skillfully use magic to support Tiltu yet. He wonders what he can do with the power he currently possesses. Suddenly, he has an idea. He excitedly tells Tiltu that he has an idea. He confidently tells her to leave it to him. He sits down in the middle of the forest. He focuses on the body that the god gave him. He recalls that his body has excellent 5 senses, so he should be able to hear sounds from far away if he focuses. He hears a faint sound in the distance. He leaps up, points the way, and they dash off. They find a group of rabbits, which Tiltu points out. The rabbits spot them and immediately start running away. Arata notes that while they attack him, they run away from Tiltu, the ancient dragon. He grabs a rock, determined not to let them escape. He throws a rock with pinpoint accuracy, knocking one of the rabbits out. Tiltu chides him for looking away. She jumps out and startles the remaining rabbits. She quickly grabs one for herself. Tiltu proudly announces that she caught one. Arata sees the last one running away. He slams his hand on the ground, determined not to let it escape. He decides to use the earth magic he learned from Lena, Earth Wall. He visualizes a cage, and a massive wall of earth shoots up from the ground. Tiltu warns him that rabbits can easily break through a wall. The rabbit slams into the solid wall and is knocked unconscious. Arata celebrates having caught the third one. Tiltu is left in a state of shock. She mutters to herself that Arata really isn't ordinary. They return to the camp where Lena is preparing food. Luna welcomes them back. She asks how their hunting went, and Arata replies that it was okay. Elga greets Arata and offers to handle the game they brought. Arata remembers that Luna is the divine beast who called Tiltu a droll owner. He notices Tiltu fidgeting behind him. He observes that while she's fine talking to him and Lena, she doesn't seem to talk to Luna or Elga very often. He recalls she was excited during the proposal and barbecue. But otherwise, she seems uncomfortable approaching others. He realizes she seems to be having trouble making friends with the ancient dragons and wishes he could do something for her. Luna approaches and asks how the hunting went for them. Arata realizes this could be a good opportunity, since Luna gets along with everyone. He nudges Tiltu, asking her to answer Luna's question. Tiltu becomes flustered and fidgets nervously. Tiltu nervously announces that she caught 3 rabbits. Luna is amazed, exclaiming that she caught 3. She excitedly grabs Tiltu's arm. Luna excitedly asks how she managed to catch the strong and fast creatures. Seeing his chance, Arata waves goodbye and heads off to see Elga. Arata wishes Tiltu good luck, thinking that if she takes this step forward, she'll lose the title of droll owner. Luna eagerly asks Tiltu to teach her some tips on catching rabbits. Tiltu lets out a nervous grunt. After a moment of hesitation, Tiltu declares that they shall practice hunting together. Luna looks on with a surprised and hopeful expression. Luna happily agrees. Tiltu gives a proud, happy smile. Watching from afar, Arata thinks to himself that she did well. Luna announces that she's going to play with Tiltu until the food is ready, and Arata tells them to have fun. She excitedly pulls Tiltu along. Tiltu happily agrees. The two run off together, hand in hand. 1 month after Arata's arrival, the group discusses their plans for exploring the island. Arata points to the eastern area on a map, asking if they should avoid it. Elga advises against it, explaining that the young ancient dragons and demons there are ill-natured. Lena agrees, stating that while Arata might be fine, it would be too dangerous for Missy. Arata then asks about the high elves instead. Elga explains that high elves are also exclusionary. He warns that their reaction to humans is uncertain. Tiltu adds that there are great spirits there, so they would be safe if the spirits liked them. Arata considers this, realizing there are complex hierarchies on the island. Elga elaborates that in his village, divine beasts coexist with regular beast people. He continues that the village of elves is governed by high elves who revere a great spirit as a god. Pondering this, Arata decides it would be best to visit the village of divine beasts first. Elga agrees, saying he will discuss it with the residents. Elga suggests that a gift of Emperor Boar meat would surely win them a warm welcome. Seizing the moment, Arata asks if there is any way to escape the island. Elga bluntly replies that it is impossible. He explains that a powerful barrier surrounds the island, preventing anyone from leaving, and only those with immense magical power can enter. According to the village elder, the island was created by a god to imprison creatures too powerful for the outside world. Monsters that would wreak havoc are thrown there. This makes the divine island of Arcadia an inescapable prison. Elga concludes that it's thanks to the island that the outside world can remain at peace. Arata quietly processes the grim reality of his situation. Lena asks if this changes things for him. Arata explains that his desire to explore the island is separate from his concern for her. Things are different for Lena. He acknowledges that she has been helping him the entire time he's been there. Arata declares that he also wants to do everything he can to send Lena back home. He clenches his fist, having made up his mind. He will continue to live a relaxing and fun life on the island. His goal is to send Lena back to the continent safely. With his two goals in mind, Arata feels a renewed sense of purpose. Later that night, he sits outside their camp. He is ready to make a plan. Arata tells Lena that their first step should be to get permission from the divine beasts to live in their territory. Lena is surprised. He thinks they need permission. Arata explains that since they are using the beasts' land, it feels wrong not to ask. He adds that if they're going to live there, it's better to have everyone's understanding. Lena smiles, remarking that his considerate nature is very typical of him. Arata suggests they go say hi to the divine beast soon. Lena agrees, promising to follow his decision. With their future plans settled, Arata asks who should take a bath first. Lena requests to go first since she worked up a sweat, and Arata happily agrees. He knows that while there are no bandits, he must remain vigilant against wild magical beasts. He sits and meditates, knowing he cannot let his guard down. He focuses his body's excellent senses to detect any approaching enemies. Suddenly, Arata is startled by a strange sensation. He feels something he's never felt before coming from the sky. It's getting closer, and he senses that its destination is right where he is. A figure appears silhouetted against the full moon. A voice notes that it's been a while since they've had strangers from the outside world. A woman with pale hair and pointed ears lands gracefully before Arata. With a sinister laugh, she comments on the nice smell he has. Arata observes that she looks even younger than Luna, but her demeanor is completely different. He recognizes the look in her eyes as that of a predator. He's certain that she is a being that stands at the very top of the island's ecosystem. The woman suggests they introduce themselves. She is Wilhelmina Vermilion Warheim, a pureblood vampire who has lived on the island since the olden days. Arata replies that he is just a human who somehow ended up there. Wilhelmina smiles, remarking that something interesting seems to be starting on this long unchanged island. She glances toward the bathhouse, adding that she's been smelling something very delicious. With a flick of her fingers, she conjures a sharp crystal. The crystal cracks and forms into a large projectile. Wilhelmina launches it directly at the bathhouse. Arata shouts in alarm. The shard speeds toward the wooden structure. Just before the crystal hits, Arata moves with blinding speed and shatters it with his bare hands. Wilhelmina looks on in surprise. Arata angrily demands to know what she is doing. Wilhelmina comments on his incredible speed, asking how he managed to intercept her magic. Arata simply states he's confident in his fitness. She dismisses his strength as being beyond mere fitness. She decides it's no matter. Wilhelmina conjures an entire swarm of crystal shards. Arata looks on in disbelief. She taunts him, saying no matter how much he moves, he can't possibly handle so many at once. Arata dashes through the onslaught. He realizes that while the magic itself is only intermediate level, the sheer number of projectiles is overwhelming. He frantically punches and kicks his way through them. He knows he's in trouble. The crystal shards slam into the bathhouse, destroying it completely. Horrified, Arata calls out Lena's name and runs toward the wreckage. From within the cloud of dust, a voice tells him to wait. As the dust settles, Lena is revealed to be standing amidst the debris, unharmed but completely naked. She clutches a towel to cover herself. Arata stands frozen before a blushing Lena. She stammers his name and pleads with him not to look, while he quickly apologizes. Wilhelmina is still there, laughing. He realizes with a jolt that now is not the time to be distracted, as she is going to attack again. Wilhelmina bursts into laughter, encouraging the lovebirds to flirt more. She finds their embarrassment delightful. Lena, confused, asks who she is. Arata explains that she is apparently some kind of pureblood vampire. Wilhelmina urges them to resume their flirting so she can enjoy the performance. Arata is confused by what she is saying. She explains that while ordinary vampires suck blood, purebloods have overcome that weakness. Instead, they feed on the emotional ups and downs of others. She explains that boredom is the killer of immortality. She is currently enjoying Lena's profound embarrassment. She thanks them for the truly tasty rom-com. Arata is surprised that she knows the term. Arata realizes her earlier attack was a ploy. The magic was too weak to hurt him. It was aimed specifically at the bathhouse to target Lena. He concludes that she never intended to harm them in the first place. Wilhelmina confirms this, finding the young lady's embarrassment to be great. Wilhelmina elaborates that the emotional change from embarrassment is very nice. It is especially so when it involves a man she's fallen in love with. Her words cause a dark aura to form around Lena. Lena tells the vampire to give her a break. Enraged, Lena screams that she'll never forgive her and unleashes a powerful attack. Wilhelmina calmly dodges, observing that this time the emotion is anger, which is just as she thought. Lena's attack slices through Wilhelmina, who remarks that she loves that emotion too. Her body falls to the ground in pieces. Arata and Lena stare in disbelief, wondering if they actually managed to take her down. To their shock, Wilhelmina's severed body parts dissolve into a swarm of bats. The bats quickly converge. The swarm reforms into her body. Wilhelmina reappears completely unharmed. She scoffs at the idea that such an attack could kill an immortal vampire. She gives them a thumbs up, telling them their reaction was a perfect dessert. Having had her delicious meal, Wilhelmina decides to leave. She winks and tells them that next time, they can be even more sweet and lovey-dovey, as she loves that flavor as well. She then flies away into the night. Lena is left flustered, complaining about the unnecessary things Wilhelmina said. Arata mulls over the encounter with Ms. Wilhelmina. He sighs, realizing his relaxing, slow life seems to be a long way off. A few days after Wilhelmina's attack, Luna leads Arata and Lena to her home, excitedly announcing their arrival. The sprawling, rustic village of divine beasts comes into view, leaving the newcomers impressed. Arata comments that the village looks more rural than he had imagined. Elga and a woman with him greet the group warmly. Arata returns the greeting and curiously asks Elga about his companion. Elga seems momentarily flustered by the question. Elga proudly introduces the woman as his wife, surprising both Arata and Lena. The woman, a divine beast named Libya, kindly introduces herself as Elga's wife. Arata introduces himself and Lena. Arata remarks that he never knew Elga was married, which the flustered Elga confirms. Libya thanks them for taking care of her husband. She admits she was initially suspicious of his frequent outings, thinking he might be cheating. She jokes that as a descendant of the divine beast Leviathan, she was prepared to drag him into the sea. Elga retorts that he would be the only one to die. Observing their playful banter, Lena notes how well they get along. The group decides to continue their tour of the village. The villagers stare intently at Arata, making him uneasy. The villagers whisper among themselves, noting that they don't sense any powerful aura from the newcomers. Elga confirms that their observation is correct. Elga explains that the divine beasts have inherited great power from their ancestors and hold a lot of pride. In contrast, the ordinary beast people living there have lost that power. Arata realizes there is a significant divide between the two groups within the village. Elga clarifies that the main part of the village is inhabited by ordinary beast people. The divine beasts, he explains, reside on top of the hill. Lena likens the social dynamic to that of nobles and commoners. Elga adds that while the beast people revere them as gods, it's not a status the divine beasts sought. Elga views their society as one of different roles. Divine beasts hunt and beast people farm. Luna agrees that things function well when everyone has their part to play. However, Arata expresses that he can also understand the perspective of the ordinary beast people. Arata reflects that without power, the ordinary beast people cannot survive without the protection of the strong. He considers it a way of life in this harsh world. Elga announces their arrival at the divine beast's residential area. Arata is awestruck by the impressive sight before him. They stand before the grand entrance to the divine beast's living quarters. Arata points to a large mansion in the back, and Elga explains that it belongs to the elder. Elga elaborates that the elder has lived for a very long time, unlike the other divine beasts. Luna remarks on the elder's incredible strength, claiming that even all the divine beasts combined couldn't defeat her. Elga informs them that the elder wishes to meet them first, and Arata agrees to go. As they approach the mansion, Elga nervously announces their presence. A voice from within simply beckons them forward. Inside, they are greeted by a woman with an imposing aura, who confirms they are the outsiders Elga mentioned. The woman finds them interesting. Arata is immediately struck by her incredible presence, realizing she must be the head of the divine beasts. Despite having heard about them, she insists on formal introductions. She introduces herself as the divine beast Phoenix, the head of her kind. Arata introduces himself and Lena Mistral. He starts to thank her for Elga and Luna's help. Phoenix cuts him off, telling him to relax and not be so formal. Phoenix explains that she goes by Suzaku in this form and requests they call her that. Elga grumbles about the title Elder, saying it annoys him. He retorts that she has been an elder since before he was born, so she should accept it. Suzaku sighs, remarking on how much of a dirty mouth Elga has developed since she knew him as a child. Elga retorts that since Suzaku raised him, he must take after her. Arata is surprised to learn of their relationship. Elga clarifies they aren't blood-related, as they are fundamentally different species. Despite their bickering, it's clear they trust each other. Lena tells Arata that Elga isn't a bad person despite his demeanor and asks him to get along with him. Suzaku tells Arata she's heard a lot about him from Luna. Since Luna is fond of them, Suzaku knows they can't be bad people. As a sign of welcome, she summons a small flame to her fingertip. With a flick of her finger, Suzaku sends the ball of fire flying toward Arata. He instinctively reaches out and catches the flame in his hand. The small flame erupts into a massive inferno. Elga and Lena look on in shock. Suzaku smiles, impressed by his ability. Arata remains unharmed, holding the powerful fire in his palm. Suzaku laughs, impressed with Arata's feat. Lena is in disbelief at what just happened. She explains that the flame contains dozens of times more magical power than she could muster at full strength. She's equally astounded that Arata caught it so easily. Arata marvels at the power contained in the small flame. He decides to extinguish it, deeming it too dangerous. Elga rushes to scold the elder for her actions, but Suzaku simply compliments Arata. She eyes him with a predatory grin, musing that a real workout might be fun. A shiver runs down Arata's spine. Citing Elga's interference, Suzaku decides to end her test for now. She instructs him to show the guests around until the feast that evening. Elga apologizes for her behavior, but Arata assures him it's fine. At the feast, Suzaku addresses the crowd, announcing Elga's new companions. She introduces Arata as a monster who withstood her flames and commands everyone to give them a warm welcome. The grand introduction leaves Arata and Lena feeling a bit embarrassed. Luna proudly serves Lena food she helped prepare. Arata notices the divine beasts are suppressing their magic, likely at Elga's request for Lena's sake. He then tries a dish and is shocked by how delicious it is. He recognizes them as the Emperor Boar cutlet sandwiches Lena made. The sandwiches were a gift Lena had prepared for the village. She offers one to Suzaku. Suzaku takes a bite, noting it has been a while since she's had Emperor Boar. Her expression quickly changes to one of surprise. Suzaku erupts with joy, declaring the sandwich is incredibly good. She exclaims that it's far tastier than any Emperor Boar she has ever had. She enthusiastically praises Lena's cooking skills. As the group enjoys the feast, Arata notices a loud commotion in the distance. A series of explosions rocks the festival grounds. Arata and Lena watch, bewildered, as villagers are sent flying. Suzaku dismisses it as just some youngsters causing a ruckus. Arata, however, feels a growing sense of unease. The explosions draw closer and closer to their location. Suzaku casually identifies the troublemaker as Gaius. She explains he is a roughneck whose ancestor is the divine beast Behemoth, as a booming voice demands to know who made the food. A massive, muscular beastman lands heavily before them. He thrusts a half-eaten sandwich towards a startled Lena and aggressively asks if she made them. Arata understands that Gaius is referring to Lena's cutlet sandwiches. A terrified Lena nervously confirms that she made them. Gaius then points directly at her. Pointing at Lena, Gaius makes a startling declaration: she must become his wife. Lena is left completely stunned and confused by the sudden proposal. Gaius points at Lena and demands she become his wife. Lena is left utterly bewildered by the sudden proposal. Lena looks on, touched by Arata's intervention. Enraged by the interruption, Gaius bellows at Arata, demanding to know what he's doing. Arata steps in front of Lena, telling Gaius he is bothering her. Gaius explains that the food she made was incredibly good. He roars that she must become his wife and make food for him forever. The declaration leaves Lena flustered and speechless. Arata looks on angrily. Gaius internally seethes, annoyed that Arata seems to be ordering Lena around while the other divine beasts are suppressing their power for her. He feels Arata is acting superior and not thinking about her at all. This perceived disrespect infuriates Arata. Cracking his knuckles, Gaius threatens to send Arata flying if he gets in the way. Unfazed, Arata sheds his jacket and defiantly challenges him to try. Gaius lets out a furious roar, unleashing a wave of power. Suzaku finds the spectacle amusing, but decides she must intervene as the host. Suzaku steps between them, but Gaius tells his chief not to interfere. With a sharp glare, Suzaku retorts that he is the one disrupting the gathering. Gaius flinches under her gaze. Suzaku says she understands his feelings and proposes a solution. Suzaku declares they will settle the matter with divine beast wrestling, much to the crowd's delight. Arata is confused by the term. Lena is also bewildered by the announcement. Arata asks Elga what divine beast wrestling is. Elga explains that they respect their ancestors. When there is something they cannot give up, they wrestle with their pride on the line. The loser must concede to the victor's claim. Arata realizes this means he and Gaius will wrestle for Lena. Gaius accepts the terms with a firm yes. Elga objects, but Suzaku asks if there are any objections. Elga reminds her that Arata and Lena are guests. Arata turns to Lena, a determined look on his face. Arata confidently asks Lena to leave this to him. With a smile, she agrees, telling him she trusts him completely. The villagers form a circle, creating a makeshift ring for the two to fight. Gaius vows to make Lena his wife. Arata resolves that he cannot let a man like him have her. Suzaku points out that if Gaius wins, Lena becomes his wife, but Arata gets nothing. To even the stakes, she makes him an offer. If he wins, she will do whatever she can for him. Arata asks if she is serious, and she confirms that a divine beast keeps their word. Arata considers that Suzaku seems to have been on the island since ancient times. He realizes this means she might know a way for them to escape. With the thought of sending Lena home safely, his resolve hardens. He knows that if he wants to send her home, he absolutely cannot afford to lose. Suzaku introduces the great warrior Gaius, descendant of the divine beast Behemoth. She then introduces the human Arata. She instructs them to compete with all their might so as not to tarnish their pride. The divine-based wrestling is ready to begin. With the command to fight, Arata braces himself. Gaius also prepares for the clash. Gaius charges forward with tremendous force, slamming into Arata. Lena and Luna cry out in alarm. Arata grits his teeth, realizing Gaius is even more powerful than Tiltu. Despite the force, he manages to plant his feet and hold his ground. Arata not only withstands the attack but takes a step forward. Gaius is shocked, unable to believe his charge was stopped and pushed back. Suzaku watches with a gleeful smile, finding the turn of events better than she imagined. Gaius is being pushed back. The crowd erupts in cheers, amazed by Arata's steel-like body. Arata knows his strength isn't from training but a gift from God. Still, he tells himself a fight is a fight. He cannot let Gaius get away with frightening Lena. Fueled by this desire, Arata roars and pushes back with all his might, determined to win no matter what. With a final, powerful heave, Arata declares that this ends now and sends Gaius flying through the air. The dust settles to reveal Gaius thrown from the ring, defeated. Lena and Luna watch in shock. Elga is also stunned by the outcome. Sweating and breathing heavily, Arata declares his victory. A defeated Gaius looks on in disbelief. Suzaku calls the match. Suzaku triumphantly announces Arata as the winner of the fight. Gaius falls to his knees in the dirt, defeated. Gaius remains stunned by his loss. Arata returns to Lena, telling her he won, and she welcomes him back with a towel. Lena insists she wasn't worried. Arata smiles, knowing she was. Luna rushes over and hugs him, exclaiming how amazing he is. Elga tells Arata he's insane. He explains that Gaius is the #1 divine beast when it comes to raw power. And yet, Arata beat him in a head-on clash. Deep furrows are carved into the ground from their struggle. Elga explains that such marks only appear when there's a massive difference in strength. Arata humbly credits his victory to the body God gave him. Just then, the defeated Gaius approaches. Arata tenses, wondering if Gaius wants to fight again because he can't give up on Lena. Gaius reaches out his hand towards Arata. Instead of aggression, Gaius extends his hand and asks Arata to be his friend. Arata is surprised by the request. Gaius explains that he respects strong guys. After a moment of hesitation, Arata agrees and extends his own hand. They shake hands, sealing their new friendship. Gaius immediately offers to destroy anything for Arata if he has any problems. He then enthusiastically suggests they go again. He clarifies that he means wrestling, of course. Gaius declares he won't lose this time, and the crowd cheers. His challenge ignites the crowd, and other divine beasts clamor for a match with Arata. Overwhelmed, Arata sighs and agrees to take them all on, one at a time. Much later, the sun begins to rise. Arata stands alone and exhausted in the center of the ruined ring, surrounded by the dozens of divine beasts he has defeated. Lena and Luna are asleep nearby. Elga and others are also passed out from the night's festivities. Even Suzaku is sleeping soundly. Arata sits up sore but awake. He reflects on how he only came to greet everyone and never expected things to turn out this way. Sitting amidst the peaceful aftermath, Arata concludes that since he had fun, it was all fine in the end. It was the day after their return from the village of divine beasts. Arata rests peacefully in a hammock he set up between two trees. Lena watches him from a distance, remarking to herself that he's sleeping like a baby. She reflects on the chaotic events of the previous day. Lena understands why Arata would be so tired. As she gently strokes his hair, he murmurs his thanks in his sleep. Lena leans in, telling him how cool he was. Lena gently wakes Arata. She tells him it's getting late, and he won't be able to sleep at night if he doesn't get up. Dazed, Arata sits up and realizes how much time has passed. Lena asks if he's okay, thinking he must be exhausted. Arata reassures her he was just sleeping because it felt nice, admitting it's been a while since he's relaxed this much. He recalls his past life, where he was so swamped with work that he couldn't even rest after getting home. Lena smiles, noting that he looks refreshed, and he agrees. Arata tells her he's glad he came to this island. Lena is happy to hear him say that. He smiles and agrees. He adds that while he initially wanted to live alone, he no longer feels that way. He wants to learn more about the island and interact with different species. He declares that he wants to live an even more fun life. Standing up with newfound resolve, he announces his decision. Instead of a lonely life, Arata wants one full of shared laughs and deep relationships. He turns to Lena, stating he'll do all he can for her as well. He earnestly promises to do his best to help her return home. His declaration leaves her stunned. Lena's confused reaction catches Arata off guard. He stammers, reminding her that she ended up on the island by accident. He then asks if she doesn't want to go back home. Lena hesitantly admits she doesn't really think about it. Confused, Arata asks if they've talked about this before, and they both realize they haven't. Lena reminds him that he's the one who kept saying he wanted to live on the island, so she just assumed she'd help him for now. The misunderstanding dawns on Arata. Arata realizes he never actually heard Lena say she wanted to go home. It was all his own assumption that he had to send her back. Overcome with embarrassment, he declares he's going to dig a big hole and bury himself in it, prompting Lena to tell him not to. After composing himself, Arata admits he had a big misconception. He suggests they sit down and talk things through slowly. Lena asks why he thought she wanted to return to the continent. He explains that since she came by the king's orders and was shipwrecked, he just assumed she would want to go back if she could. Lena understands his reasoning. With a serious expression, Lena admits she hasn't told him about her own situation. Arata, sensing the shift in tone, asks if something bad happened before she came to the island. Lena reveals to a shocked Arata that she is an orphan. She explains that her master, the highest of the 7 heavenly great mages, took her in as an apprentice due to her magical talent. However, she adds that things were very rough for her from then on. She recounts her brutal training, where she was left in a wilderness full of dangerous magical beasts. She was forced to use her magic until she was half dead, all for the sake of magical development. The memory alone makes her feel sick, which Arata notes sounds awful. She concludes that this is how she became a heavenly great mage. Arata asks what happened next. Lena reveals the reason she came to the island was to get an elixir of immortality. She admits she hadn't told him this at first. Lena explains that she was set up. Shortly after she became a heavenly great mage, the Duke of the Kingdom demanded she become his dedicated magician. As the most powerful magicians on the continent, heavenly great mages are supposed to remain neutral, so she turned him down. It was then that she learned the truth. She discovered the Duke was after her not just as a magician, but as a woman. After she rejected him, he used his power to harass her relentlessly. He even involved the orphanage where she grew up. They created a situation where she couldn't refuse. So to temporarily escape the danger, she accepted the king's request to find an elixir of longevity on the island. Arata, hearing this, had no idea. She doubts the kingdom would bother with her now that she's considered missing in action. Lena admits that she's a bit worn out from everything that has happened. Arata reflects on how she trained her magic tirelessly since she was little, becoming one of the greatest magicians. He understands how painful it must have been for all that effort to result in being desired as a woman. To make matters worse, no one on the island recognizes her prestigious title, and there's no one to praise her for her hard work. He calls out to her. He asks if she's really okay with how things turned out after she worked so hard to become the heavenly great mage she longed to be. Lena looks at him and confesses that, to be honest, she never really wanted to become a magician. All she ever really wanted was to become someone kind to others, like the sisters at the orphanage. She explains that her master told her the orphanage would have an easier time if she became a magician. That was the only reason she tried so hard. Arata listens, beginning to understand. Arata asks if her reason for wanting to stay is because she doesn't want to return to the continent. Lena smiles and says no. She explains that she simply likes it here. She can be herself around him. Luna and Tiltu are cute, and Elga and the others are good friends. That's why, she concludes, she'd rather live a new life on the island than go back. Arata smiles, finally understanding her feelings. Arata extends his hand, smiling as he says that this means they're staying together. Lena agrees and takes his hand. Arata knew the gesture wasn't meant to be anything more. It was simply a handshake to reaffirm their status as equal friends. Yet they were also sure that this bond was a very precious thing. A few days later, the morning is bright. Arata decides to go for a walk, inviting Lena to join him. She apologizes, explaining that she plans to read a book of magic today. Arata notices the ornate book in her hands. Arata remembers that the book was an apology gift from Ms. Will for destroying their bathhouse and teasing him. He recalls she showed no remorse at the time. He asks Lena what the book is like, thinking it's incredible for someone to hand over such an item so lightly. Lena explains that every spell in the book is something from mythology. However, she cheekily adds that as a magician, they don't interest her. Arata reminds her of her desire to be a kind person, but she insists this is different. He accepts her answer, figuring it's fine if the spells can be used for self-defense, and heads out for his walk. Arata steps outside. He remarks on the great weather. He then feels the ground shaking and hears heavy footsteps. He wonders if one of the strongest species is running through the woods in a hurry. Suddenly, a large figure appears right beside him. It's a frantic Elga. He urgently asks Arata if Luna has come by. Arata replies that she came for dinner the previous day and left as usual, then asks if something has happened to her. Elga reveals that Luna hasn't returned since yesterday, shocking Arata. Elga wonders aloud where she could have gone. Lena emerges from the tent, asking about the voices she heard. Arata informs her that according to Elga, Luna has not returned since the previous day, leaving Lena in shock. Lena immediately suggests they go look for her. Elga dismisses the idea, stating that Luna is his problem. He tells them to send Luna back to the village if she appears. He dashes off into the woods, leaving Arata calling after him. Arata and Lena are left wondering what to do next. Lena worries that while Luna is strong, something still might have happened to her. Arata agrees and decides to search for her himself, telling Lena to wait there. Lena agrees, saying she is counting on him. With Lena's encouragement, Arata speeds off into the forest. He searches the area. He finds no signs of Luna. As he runs, Arata considers the possibilities. Either Luna is in serious trouble or she is not returning of her own free will. He recalls that when she visited the day before, she seemed to be her usual self. He remembers her seeming to have even more fun than usual. In a flashback, Luna excitedly tells Arata and Lena that the next day is Elga and Libya's wedding anniversary. She suggests they should all have a party. She explains that she needs to go home early to prepare a present for them. Arata realizes something must have happened while Luna was preparing the present. He focuses, trying to sense her location. He's relieved to find she doesn't seem to be weakened. Still, he wonders why she hasn't returned. Following his senses, Arata finds Luna sitting at the base of a large tree. She flinches when he calls out to her. He expresses his relief at finding her and asks what she's doing there. Arata then notices two small wolf cubs sleeping beside Luna. The cubs are sleeping peacefully. Arata asks about the cubs. With a sad expression, Luna reminds him that it's Elga and Libya's wedding anniversary. She explains that because Libya had mentioned wanting children, she decided to find them a present. Arata begins to understand her intentions. He then asks a crucial question: where are the cubs' parents? Fearing he thinks the worst, she quickly denies having done anything to them. Luna explains that by the time she found them, their parents were already gone. Arata reassures her, saying he never thought she did anything to them. He gently asks her to explain what happened from the beginning. After leaving Arata and Lena, she searched for wolf cubs that had strayed from their pack to give as a present. She eventually found the cubs. However, their mother was being attacked by another monster. Luna intervened, chasing off the attacker to save her. Unfortunately, the mother wolf was already fatally wounded and died on the spot. Luna decided to take the orphaned cubs home with her to protect them from other monsters. But the cubs refused to leave their mother's side. Luna continues, explaining that the cubs didn't understand that their mother was gone. After she buried the mother and tried to take them with her, they still wouldn't leave. Tears well up in her eyes as she recounts their refusal to leave. Knowing they would die if left alone, she had no choice but to stay with them. She tells Arata that she's been protecting the cubs ever since to keep them from being attacked. Hearing her story, Arata understands. He gently tells Luna that she's a good girl. Arata asks Luna what she plans to do now. She says she'll try to convince the cubs to come with her again when they wake up. When Arata asks if they can understand each other, Luna admits she doesn't know. He then inquires about what kind of monsters they are. She reveals they are bloody wolves, a species that grows to be very strong. Arata considers this new information, reasoning that if Luna says they're strong, they must be a serious threat. He worries that if they become a danger one day, Lena could be at risk. He briefly considers defeating them now, though he feels bad for Luna. Just then the two wolf cubs begin to stir, yawning and stretching as they wake up. Luna happily announces that they're awake. The cubs look back and forth between Arata and Luna. The cubs get up and walk towards a specific spot in the clearing. Arata asks what they are doing. Luna quietly explains that it's the place where she buried their mother. The cubs sniff at the ground over their mother's grave and begin to whimper. Arata realizes they are now separated from their mother forever. He realizes they have finally understood the truth. He reflects that such a loss is painful for any creature, human or monster. Having made his decision, Arata kneels before Luna. He asks her if she can promise to raise the cubs properly. After a moment of thought, Luna nods in agreement. Arata suggests they wait for the cubs to finish saying their goodbyes before taking them home. Luna smiles brightly and agrees. They wait patiently by the grave. Sometime later, Elga arrives. He notes that Arata found Luna first. Arata apologizes for not letting him know sooner, but Elga tells him not to worry about it. Seeing that they're not in a state to move, he decides that explanations can wait for later. Elga apologizes for any trouble Luna might have caused. Arata reassures him that it's fine. He adds that he doesn't think she caused any trouble at all. The two share a quiet, understanding laugh. Elga mentions that Luna barely slept the previous night, so he wants to let her rest. He's not worried about Libya getting mad at Luna. He predicts that he'll be the one to get an earful instead. Arata can't help but chuckle. Arata tells Elga that he was just thinking what a good guy he is. A flustered Elga says he isn't happy to hear that from another guy. He adds that he would like to hear it even less from a girl, because that would mean he'd have to watch his back. Seeing this, Arata smirks and remarks that Libya must really love him. Elga notices that the sleepyheads are awake. Luna, still half asleep, stares at her brother. She reaches out to him. With a sigh of resignation, Elga agrees to her silent request. Elga gives the sleepy Luna a piggyback ride, while Arata carefully holds the two wolf cubs. Elga suggests they head back before the sun sets, and Arata agrees. A week has passed since Luna brought home 2 bloody wolf cubs. The cubs, named Kerr and Gar for their distinct growls, have started to accommodate their new companions. Life has become more civilized as they've begun interacting more with the divine beasts. Inspired by their growing community, Arata clenches his fist with determination and suggests to Lena that they build a house. He explains that since they are of opposite genders, he worried that living in a tent might be difficult for her. Lena, who hadn't considered it, suddenly gasps as the implication dawns on her. Flustered, Lena apologizes, admitting she hadn't consciously thought about Arata being a guy. Her embarrassment quickly turns to excitement as she enthusiastically agrees, proposing they build a house with their own separate rooms. Arata tries to clarify that he was thinking of 2 separate buildings, but Lena is already caught up in the preparations. The next day, news of the house construction spreads. Tiltu is thrilled at the prospect while Luna sulks. Luna confronts Arata, demanding a room for herself in the new house. She pokes him accusingly, questioning his nonchalant attitude. Luna accuses Arata of building a love nest and declares that it's unfair for her to be left out. She insists she wants a room to live with them too. Just then, Lena arrives with the blueprints, explaining that Ms. Suzaku allowed them to use the land freely. She assures a surprised Luna that if they make the house a bit bigger, there will be no problem adding a room for her. Hearing this, Tiltu eagerly chimes in, wanting a room as well. With rooms of their own now a possibility, Luna and Tiltu excitedly share their design requests. Tiltu wants a fluffy blanket, while Luna desires a high ceiling. Seeing everyone so happy, Arata smiles and resolves to do his best for them. 1 week later, their hard work pays off. A magnificent 2-story house stands completed, a testament to their combined efforts. Arata is stunned they finished so quickly, but Lena explains that his magic was the key. She adds that his presence also helped pull them ahead of schedule. She demonstrates the sturdiness of a wall, explaining that his earth magic coating makes it strong enough to withstand even Tiltu and Gaius's charging. Arata reflects that the house needs to be strong enough to handle not just rampaging monsters, but also Ms. Will's antics. Lena tells him he should be more proud of his work. With the exterior finished, they decide to start tidying up the inside. Inside, Arata lays out his plans. The dining table will be placed for everyone to eat together. Since Tiltu likes high places, her room will be a loft. Luna's room will be underneath, cushioned by magic to absorb any shocks. They also plan for 2 large guest rooms for any sudden visitors. Arata shows Lena his room, and she points out that hers is right next to it. As evening approaches, Lena suggests they spend one last night in the tent and tackle the furniture and other preparations the following day. Spending their last night in the tent, Arata feels a pang of sadness. He recalls his first night, how nervous he was sharing a tent with a girl and couldn't sleep. He wonders why he feels this way, even though their new house is just a few steps away. Lena notices his contemplative mood. She gently tells him that they can't sleep in the tent anymore. Her words bring Arata back to the present, and he agrees with a smile, acknowledging that she's right. Lena reassures him that moving into a house won't change their relationship. They are friends but also like family. Hearing this, Arata brightens up and suggests they can still sleep in the tent together from time to time. A proposal that leaves Lena utterly stunned. Lena shyly nods in agreement with Arata's idea. Later, they stand before their new home, satisfied that they are mostly done organizing the inside. As Arata opens the door, he hears a clanging sound, realizing someone is there. Before he can react, Luna barrels into him with a hug, announcing her arrival. She's followed by Gaius and Tiltu, who congratulate Arata on finishing the house and declare they're coming in. To their surprise, another guest appears, Ms. Suzaku. She explains that she heard the house was finished and came to see it. However, she reveals her main purpose was to give Arata a prize, telling him he can cry tears of joy. Confused, Arata asks what prize she's talking about, having completely forgotten. Suzaku reminds Arata of her promise during his wrestling match with Gaius. She would do anything for him if he won. Arata sheepishly recalls that he had intended to ask for a way for Lena to return to the continent, but since that's no longer necessary, he had forgotten all about it. Suzaku is irked that her grand offer has gone unclaimed. Declaring that she went ahead and thought of the best idea ever for him, Suzaku's wings of flame unfurl dramatically. The group watches in awe, Lena remarking on how pretty she is. She warns them that if they're surprised by this, they're in for a real treat. With a tremendous roar, Suzaku's transformation intensifies, engulfing her in a vortex of powerful fiery energy. The transformation completes, revealing Suzaku in her true form, a magnificent giant phoenix of black flames hovering majestically in the sky. Arata and Lena stare in disbelief at the bird of flames. Lena remarks that she's never felt such a mystic power from any beast on the continent. Arata agrees, adding that Suzaku is stronger than anyone he has ever seen on the island. Landing before them, Suzaku announces Arata's prize, the right to ride on her back and see the island from above. Arata is confused, while Tiltu and Gaius are shocked by the rare opportunity. Suzaku explains she's offering it specially as thanks for entertaining her. As Arata and Lena step onto Suzaku's back, Arata is surprised to find that it isn't hot at all. Instead, he feels a sense of holiness. The others watch on, a little envious. Seeing them, Arata turns to Suzaku with a question. Arata cheekily asks if she can give everyone a ride at the same time. Suzaku lets out a booming laugh, feigning outrage at his casual tone, and reminding him that she is like a god to the others. Arata playfully challenges her, asking if she can't do it. Provoked, Suzaku proudly exclaims that of course she can, and invites everyone to get on. When Gaius hesitates, she reminds him that she was the one who promised to do anything for Arata. Tiltu cheers with excitement as she hops on. Luna timidly asks if she can join too, while Gaius sighs with resignation. Once everyone is aboard, Suzaku warns them not to fall off as she prepares for takeoff. They shoot into the sky with incredible speed. Arata checks on a startled Lena, who confirms she is okay. He tells her to open her eyes, and takes in the view himself, his own eyes wide with wonder. From high above, a breathtaking panorama of the island unfolds, revealing its vast and diverse landscapes, from volcanic regions and crystal fields to lush forests and cascading waterfalls. Arata and Lena are in awe of the incredible view. Suzaku proudly asks how they like it, and Arata praises her amazing power. He reflects that this is his first time seeing the island from above, and is shocked by its immense size. He realizes there are countless species, cultures, and strange places he has yet to discover. The entire group, including Tiltu, Gaius, Luna, and Lena, soaks in the magnificent scenery. As they soar through the sky on Suzaku's back, overwhelmed by the experience, Arata thinks to himself how glad he is to have been reincarnated on this island. He turns to Lena, who is sitting beside him, to share his thoughts. Arata asks Lena if she thinks they will have more fun days like this in the future, and she smiles, assuring him they will. He silently thanks God, and resolves to continue living a fun life on this island, home to the strongest species. He sends a silent prayer, asking God to continue watching over